All right, well, hello and welcome back. We're still working on page 7. You notice I don't have any dialogue yet, and all the drawings are in a very rough state, and I do mean rough. But I think that the next step, this is going to sound counterintuitive, the next step is to write the script. You might think, hey, I thought you wrote the script before you did the page. That's not how I do it, though. What I do before I do the page is I do an outline, which is similar. Hang on. Okay, but anyhow, I actually do the writing after the page is drawn. I just have an outline to start out with, and I kind of know what's going to happen. Then I do the dialogue afterwards, and this could be thought of as a one-person version of the Marvel method. Similar in concept, certainly. A lot of what you're doing when you're doing these more, let's call them full-blown methods of creating comics, write a full script, do finished pencils, are really that way because you're working within the confines of a team, and they need all that stuff. They need it so you can fully communicate the idea that you're putting across. But when you're working alone, you supposedly already know your own ideas, right? Or you know your own bits. But the main concern I have right now is the size of the figures, right? And what it mostly comes down to is what size text you're going to use. So it's really important. Text obviously takes up space in the panel. And then in the remaining space, and if we were to just draw this, let me see. In the remaining space, you also have this rule of thirds thing going on. Where you want to make sure that your figures generally align to the rule of thirds. So I think that's about right there. Something like that. Or we could have moved her down the other way. If you don't count on the size of things, like she's probably too high depending on what I have her say. If she doesn't say anything, it's probably fine because there's no space that's getting taken up over here. You know, we put some clouds in or something like that. All right. And this will give you the ability to standardize a bit the size you want to use for your type. So you should settle on a size. In general, it's different on whatever font you're using. So in this case, I'm using something called Evil Genius because it's got a nice leading. Leading is the space between lines. And I think this is okay, actually. Yeah, we might put this a little bit, edit text again. Just a little bit up like that. And I think we can leave her exactly right where she is. We've got to show, whoops. What happened here? We've got to show more trees in the jungle. Hang on. Maybe even some water, some hanging moss, you know, coming off of branches and such. In general, you want to pick your vanishing point and you want to imagine, you don't necessarily have to draw the lines, but you want to imagine that we've got some perspective lines radiating out from here, and then in a nature scene. You're placing your features coming out from there. Okay, so I've got those two panels with text. This one's going to be tough because her head is taking up a lot of the space here. And of course, you can always tighten up your drawing a little bit. I made her eye way too big here. So she's saying, I could leave now, I could simply fly away. Ooh, I pull leave. I could leave. That's the danger of using the touch type. Simply leave. All right. Looks like some good dialogue. Okay, or monologue in this case. 12-point type. See, look how big it is in the panel. We can even like stretch it across a little bit, but in general we want to stack our dialogue up. And this is probably okay to leave it, but I think we are going to make we could either, we've got two choices here. We could make her smaller or even bigger. We could even, whoops, no. We could make her bigger. And the way you do that is something like that. In this case, I think I like the size I've got for her. And I did cant her even when I was doing the rough. We're just going to put it right here. We could either use a thought bubble here. I think that's a good way to go. It's tough because her eyes don't have the, she has the Titan eyes, so they don't have the pupils there. I've made her finger too long. So I want to make sure that we don't lose a whole lot of expression for her. And this is cartooning, you know. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be realistic. Realism is in my opinion, it's not the main thing you should be going for in your comic. Cartooning is not about realism. I know that's the standard right now. I want my comic to look realistic. I think you want what's called verisimilitude. You want it to be consistent within its own universe. And that's not necessarily realism. Or it doesn't have to be. Okay. Got to make sure that she's got her gems. Okay, this is the difficult panel. It's going to be a flashback sequence. Her eyes should be in a different expression. Because she's trapped. I didn't do a great job with her hand here. Oh, this is a good tip for the hand, is the pinky can go in front. It can go in front of the other fingers. So I'm moving this pinky. It's a lot to learn on the hand. For example, when you make a fist, it's not just square. It's not just like this. When the hand naturally closes, you get the fingers all go up against the thumb like this. And so you have to kind of take that into account. And I've done finger things wrong here. Oh no. That was drawn very quickly. But it's, it's a basic outline. When you're drawing quickly, you can always refine it later because, none of these lines will be in the final. All these lines will be replaced by, the ink layer. So we have lots of room to... I almost want to envision this hand. I had it as his outside hand. I had it envisioned as his right shoulder. But it could just as easily, and perhaps better, be his left hand. In this case, we would have the thumb. So it almost reads better this way. And that way we can leave the other arm down. And I could be a little bit less extreme on the collar. Now, I know before, if you saw the other video, I used a reference image. And it doesn't have to match the reference image exactly. In fact, very few people who read this are going to have read the other one or remember it. So that's okay. All right, hang on. Of course, that helps if you get the shape of the head right, which I don't think I did. And I also got the size wrong, I think. Whoops. Okay. Here's the other thing. This is a flashback sequence, so it's going to have a wavy line around it. And in fact, actually, we might even do the whole panel border as wavy. Let's see what that looks like. Instead of that works pretty well. And then we'll use focus lines to let the readers know that this is taking place in a flashback. Alright, now I did misplace her shoulder here. She's stuck inside this glass tube held by the immortal Caliban, who is not a Titan. He hates the Titans, actually, and for good reason. He's meant to be eventually some kind of anti-hero sort of character, but I haven't really had the chance to develop him much. And so we'll have, you know, a little bit more. But let's go ahead and over here, we'll just get rid of this line. Hopefully it's still recording. I'm having these weird outages lately on my computer. Oops, no, not you. Wrong layer. Still on the pencil layer. Okay, now. When first we met. She talked like a titan. When first we met, it was Corbeau. Rescued me. To my radio signal. And we can change that me to, well, that's gonna get emphasized. Relation of distant radio waves. Okay, we're going to take, so we don't want to repeat the word radio twice, so I'm going to say my signal. I had no way to communicate except the manipulation of distant radio waves. 12. Aha, now we got a problem, right? It's too big for the panel. So we definitely have to, like, we're going to have to reduce the image here. Otherwise we're going to get pieces cut off. But this is not a problem. So we're going to go ahead and grab it. Throw it in here. We might even distort it a little bit. Let's grab it and push it back this way. It's not hurting it. Looking good. And the other thing that's important is ooh, you know, I don't like is, let's make this higher. We want this to be narration box. And if we have a narration box, unlike a direct, I think what I have to do is I have to put quotes in there to make it even more obvious that's still her talking. So keep in mind all this stuff. Whoops, come on now. There we go. Now, let's see if what I can also do is, I think I made his collar once again too big. Let's get rid of this. His hand is probably too big. Let's make the hand a bit smaller. Oops. And his mouth is open as if he's saying something. Okay. Pretty good start. And you can see that, you know, once the dialogue starts to come in and it all starts to balance out after a while. In fact, I'm looking at this. And I want her to balance a little bit better even. Maybe I'll put her down here. Okay. Okay, here's our determined face where we've changed the angle, right? So add text. You may just be human. This is a decision made. Life to rescue me. Okay. Oops. Gotta change the size. 12. So we don't have a full thought here. We have a sentence and then a second sentence. I am in his debt. Put it like... This is actually seeming okay. I might shrink her down just a little bit or pull her down a little bit. Change just to only. It was Corbeau who said rescued me. Whoops. I want to, and I'm reusing the word rescue, and I think I need to fix that. All right, so we're going to change this and make it bold. Oh, and you know what we can also do? I can figure out which comic this was in and do like a little, you know, back in issue whatever. Back in Corbeau #2, which I think is in Uncanny Journeys, I believe. Back in Uncanny Journeys. 9 Volt Uncanny Journeys. So, I am in his debt. He risked his life to save me, so we want to use the word rescue just once. Save me. It's not sabe. Save. Well, save you can't use without a save me from Caliban. It's a good stack. That's a good stack. All right. Got to get your stuff stacked. All right, here we go. I think that's really good. And then we have a new thought. Wait. That antenna. Is it spelled right? He notices this antenna that's nearby, and it's going to give her the idea. Did she say wait before? No. Well, the V being is awkward. I must be held nearby. And there we go. Okay. That went so hard. Now we have dialogue. And starting tomorrow, we can go in and start inking and doing the real drawing part. So I know this might seem really backwards to you, but it's a system that works for me. All right, please like, follow, and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow.